Eight totally different case studies, from wetlands in Kolkata to Nepali women and youth in action, from earthquakes and women take charge in Lombok, Indonesia, through to urban issues like keeping Bangkok's green lung breathing. They are all so diverse and fascinating, all water and climate change related, all looked at by experts in their own specific fields, and all discussed by young water professionals who want to see progress and a better world in the next 10 to 15 years. Still, most of the outputs, and maybe even solutions, are comparable. It was clear that when talking about natural resources management, in all these case studies, it was essential that women had to be involved from the start of a project. The voices of women need to be heard. We found that it was crucial in our webinars, that it was crucial to have capacity building, vocational training, so that the women could talk from experience and with knowledge. These sort of actions, the training, capacity building, this needs money. And NGOs who really are working with the grassroots and who see the issues that have to be put forward to the municipalities and the government, how are we going to be able to do that? How do we get the money, which is very difficult, and how are we going to involve the politicians?
Well, you are coming to the sticking point, because in the aftermath of Corona, I can see funding possibilities sort of melting like the snows in the high summer. Perhaps what we need to do is to identify particular people, leaders. They can be politicians. Politicians are most important, because if you remember in the Hague Forum, year 2000, one of the leading activities that identified was accessing political decision makers. And perhaps this is the one thing that we may not have done if we were to get our funding. Maybe we need to be a little more, I wouldn't use the word aggressive, but a little more, give more enthusiasm to this particular activity. Now, if you look at the Women, Water and Climate activity that we just concluded, we had our Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena, who under a lot of stress and strain, he's a very important cabinet minister, but he made it to give his opening remarks. The minister is not the Minister of Water now. The minister was the Minister of Water. But because of his passion and commitment and his support for women's issues, especially on gender issues at the community level, because he is the person who set up the National Community Water Trust. That goes with them wherever they go. When you understand, when you recognize, when you love the water, what it can do as a positive element which can change people, change people's lives, oppress the people who are socially disadvantaged, build livelihoods, one never gives up water.
Still, I mean, when we look at, for instance, our 8 case studies, which were wonderful case studies, all very diverse, but a lot of them had this finance issue. A lot of them could could only show to, for instance, municipalities or governments when the project was almost done, that it was worthwhile. Because when we started, they said, no, we can't support you. Although some of these projects might not be very big, that it's still worth it. And as the experts have told us, they're very valuable.
I think that, this is the difference between a researcher who would look at quantitative data and qualitative data. Maybe you don't have that much of quantitative data because, as Lawrence from the UNESCO WAP, World Water Assessment Program, said in his session, in the final session, we are not having enough gender desegregated data. Again, it's a matter of, it costs. So we don't put money. We don't have money to put it in, to make it happen. So for us, it's this vicious cycle. We don't have the data. And because of data, we don't have a seat at the table. Important donors, bilateral donors, development agencies, development banks have to have some kind of a minimum amount that they would put into women's capacity building.
Yes. No, that's true. The data is a big issue. I know a lot of NGOs suffer with that. So we really have to look at not only collecting data, also show the big organizations that citizen data are very valuable. We had one of our projects which was in Nepal, and it was they educated young high school students together with young professionals and tried to get data on the water situation, and that data can be used.
There are two things which sort of pop into my mind. One is that what I have read about Malaysia River Watch, where you had schools monitoring sections of the river. And the other is an activity which I had been engaged myself with the support of Deepak Gewali. You remember our inspirational keynote speaker at the Women, Water and Climate Conference, who introduced us to eagle science and toad science.
Yes.
Eagle science is up above and, maybe done by institutions, agencies, universities. Toad science is what communities understand by long interactions with their own environment. And I think what comes to my mind is a program that Deepak supported us to do water quality monitoring by school children in Sri Lanka. At the end of it, we had children who could probably teach their teachers. But at the end of it, we also had the problem that we were earlier referring to, finances. Because though we got the sets as part of the donation, we had no funding to continue buying the chemicals. So we had to give it up to a certain point. I mean, it was very sad because the kids were able to monitor that stretch of the river in Nanuya, a very significant tributary of our most important river, the Mahavalley.
Yeah, that's true. And that, again, comes back to our finance issue. And I mean, everyone knows that direct financing for women organizations and women projects is not wonderful. So one way or the other, we have to sit down and talk to politicians, talk to investment banks, big NGOs, to see if we can make that change. Because if we have a little bit of money, we can easily sort of what we talked about in the first instance. Capacity building, make role model leaders of women, involve the youth, because I think that is also very important, that the youth realizes that they have to continue, let's call it our fight. And then, of course, sex aggregated data. It's again, involve women. Not all women have to be leaders. I mean, they can be, and not every leader has to be on top of an organization. It can be on the grassroots. It can be within the family even. So So how do we get men to join us? Because I know a lot of men do join us, and like your minister, like a lot of people we use. So in that respect, awareness, we can't stop the awareness raising of this issue. There were two verbs during our sessions, especially during the conference, and one was don't fix the women, fix the system. So I think that would be up to us now. We should fix the system and make them realize that women have to be involved.
But then I go back to my old problem. In order to fix the system, you have to understand the system. You need to, there's a paucity of research about the issues that we are studying. To change a system, we have to know the system. And very often, again, we come back to the old problem of finances.
This is a vision we have to involve women, to get gender equality, to empower women, to collaborate with men and women at the same level. I mean, as Tom Mollenkopf said, a vision without an action is a daydream, and an action without a vision is a nightmare. That was this Japanese proverb. So maybe this should be our vision. And we should take action to make this vision come true with all women organizations.
And I think that I would like to finish off by also talking about another kind of vision, the eagle vision and the toad vision, on which Deepak Gewaldi was very, very eloquent. We have to, the eagle vision is well looked after, but the toad vision is very often understated, underreported, but could be the most important entry point into making changes on the ground.
Yes, absolutely. We organized these webinars, we organized the conference, but the COVID-19 was a major issue. It stopped all our activities, and we wanted to do so much more. But the results, the consequences of this COVID is also, there's a lot more violence against women, and COVID, again, is very much related to climate change, is very much related to water, because what if we can't wash our hands? What if we can't keep distance, if we have contaminated water?
Many schools in Sri Lanka do not have water for washing. And now in the case of the post-COVID scenario, it is absolutely dangerous for children to be in school without hand washing. That is a number one problem. The second is in urban marginalized communities, where people live at such close contact with each other. The social distancing is just a joke. But if they at least had water so that they could, be constantly, keeping themselves clean, that is some kind of protection. The poorer you are, the harder you are hit with COVID, because you have no access to the basic human right, which is the right to water.
Absolutely. And that is, well, in every country, all over the world.
I do believe that, if we were to write this up, it would be a case study in resilience.
That's very, very clear. Kusumi, it was wonderful to talk to you and to have this discussion. And
as always,
we keep our vision and go in action mode. So we will not daydream. We will make this into a success. And I'm convinced that a lot of our collaborating partners will join us and will help us to actually achieve our goals. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marit. As it is, it's a journey of 1,000 steps, but this is where we have to go linking our hands. We have to work together.
Thank you very much.